It's a game day Friday. Let's get this thing rolling. Texas Tech, a lot of that. We're going to preview that. Keys to the game. Texans actually looked good last night. We'll get into that and also what's going on with the NFL this weekend. One segment, the Bucs and the Rams. Plus, we got Beat the Pluck coming up at 5 o'clock. We're going to get into some national college football games against the spread. He went from DB High. Almost went to Florida State. Thought he was going there. RC said, stay in the state. So he said, RC, I will. But I'm not going to stay with you. Went to DBU. Ended up in Detroit. He's in more private clubs than a swinger. A lot cleaner. He's as open-minded as anyone, yet does discriminate against white foods. He's a football theorist. He's an All-American. He is the one and only Snoop Rod Babers.
I like that. Mike co-host is a lifetime logo at the first. He's a lifetime Austinite. A conservative liberal who doesn't discriminate, which is why his dating history looks a lot like a commercial for the Rainbow Coalition. He was a reality TV star before it ever was a thing. And yes, he's only got one ball, but more testicular fortitude than your whole team. That's my man, my co-host, Kevin Dunn. What's going on, brother?
It's Friday. Doing
Friday.
well, man.
Yeah.
We're back home.
Thank the good man upstairs. Yeah, back home. It's been a while.
Another road sweep for us.
Yeah, three in a row. It's good though to hang out with the people. We get a chance to see a lot of the listeners, and that's a great part of the job. Probably the best part of the job. Just getting a chance to meet all the listeners out there. So it's really cool. Thank you guys for coming out too to all the spots. We were hanging out in Cedar Park, Leander. We were all over the place. Hutto. But we got love every time we went out, so we appreciate it.
We appreciate it. It's going to be a heavy football-focused show, as it should be. We got college football this weekend. We got pro football this weekend. We've got high school football this weekend. We'll get out at 6:30 for Flex with the aforementioned Snoop Daniel.
Snoop.
So if you missed yesterday's show, this kind of blew up. And it was a really, really nice middle school volleyball team. I thought they were in high school because they were so tall.
They were tall. They were taller than both of us.
Yeah, right.
At least a couple of them.
Were.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we're in middle school. And then one of the girls, really sweet, said, young women, said, are you Snoop Daniel? To Rod. And Rod handled it the way Rod should. But goes to show you, people are listening to the Flex.
Yeah, Flex ATX, man. Snoop, people want to be down with Flex ATX. They want that shout out. Shout out. So, my man Snoop, I haven't gotten mistaken for Snoop. That was the first time. So, I'm sure it's going to happen again. Won't be the last time that Snoop's blowing up. You know what I mean? So, there you go. I'm not as hip as Snoop. And Snoop
you shouldn't be with your age.
Cooler and hipper than I am. Obviously, because the kids don't know who the hell I am. They don't care.
No,
they want to know Snoop. They shouldn't. You know, I'm an old man now. I'm not like a crotchety old man yet, but I'm a pretty old man.
I'm getting you there.
You are trying to get me there, but I refuse.
I'm getting you there.
No, you got the glasses and everything now, and the readers. I'm gonna hold out. Hold out as long as I can.
What was the award show last week?
Kicking and screaming.
Last weekend? Was it the Emmys?
Yeah. I believe so.
So, I mean, I haven't watched any of those in 5-10 years. You get a certain age, and I mean, I guess if you're watching those shows a lot, but why are you watching those shows at that age?
You don't watch any current TV shows that would be nominated at the Emmys at all?
No.
Wow. It's pretty hard to do. It's pretty hard not to be into any of the shows.
Let me tell you, it's actually pretty easy to do.
That means you're just watching sports all the time and not watching any...
And old shows and old stand-up comedy and history shows. And
True.
They don't have to do history shows on there.
You can catch one current show. There's a lot of decent shows out there you can watch.
Oh, don't confuse. I've caught them.
Oh, you just think they're not worth their time?
No.
None of them are?
No, we're at a point in society where you have to be so safe that there's no humor to me at all. Everything is it's almost like the 80s shows we talk about that were written for third graders, but it's written for 2021 third graders. Mm. So it's just a machine gun of virtue signaling.
Man, Man, you're on fire already. It's Friday.
I am.
Guess you. All right.
Hey, we're short on time.
You got to get it in.
Got to get it in.
I already got a machine gun reference and also the noise.
Yeah, and the
sound
noise.
effect.
The noise wasn't bad, was it?
No, it wasn't. But that's the first time you've done that. So
put that up for an Emmy.
You're feeling passionate today.
I'm feeling. You know what I'm not feeling passionate about? So I've called all the people that I really respect. Last call, because it's the least respect, was to Paul Wobblington and Scipio, and said, man, I've looked at all three Tech games. I know Texas. I have no feel on this game at all. And he goes, you're right. I don't either. It's a black box. So I wouldn't touch the over-under. I wouldn't touch the line. I wouldn't touch who's winning it with my own money. Now, I think Texas will win.
What's the over-under?
61, 62 pretty much now. I think it's gone up.
Yeah. I go back and forth. I've gone back and forth. I think Texas could win in a decisive, commanding fashion. And what is that? Is that 2 scores?
Yeah. In this game, yeah.
Double digits?
37-23 is commanding.
Okay. So you're talking 2 touchdowns. That's commanding.
Yeah, so you said 2 scores. That could be 10.
That could be 10. You know what I mean?
33-23 in this
9,
game.
Technically, you know what I mean? Because it could be
if you cover, it's commanding.
Yeah, okay. No, it was, and right now, what's the spread? Is it 8? I think it's 6. It's and you know that a lot of people have gone back and forth in this game because the line has gone back and forth.
Yes, sir.
And I think that it all depends on a few factors. We don't know if the Texas Tech defensive, resurgence. I don't know if resurgence. May I say more like a renaissance because they haven't had defense there at Texas Tech in a while. But they're starting to play some defense, so they're focusing on it. Matt Wells and his influence on the program, you're starting to see it in year 3 for him? There at Matt Wells, you're starting to see it a little bit because he initially came in and inherited the air raid. I know he's going back to the air raid, but they still want to run the ball. And you can see the kind of the evolution of the team that since he's been there, they run the football more and they throw it less. They may be more deliberate in their passing now with the RPOs and the play action passes and their deep shots and even their quick game, but they want to commit to running the football. That's a little bit different. And defensively now, at least they have a blueprint to win that is not so lopsided where it depends on just one phase of the game. Now they can go out there and get a defensive stop when they need it. Not saying they're going to suffocate some team offensively and shut them down, but they can go out there and get a stop. That's something in a timely fashion, something Texas Tech couldn't really say back in the day. And honestly, their punting game is really good. They got a good punter.
Yeah.
So special teams wise, they've actually
Austin McNamara.
Yeah, they've actually improved in the special team. So they're just trying to have a more well-rounded model to win. And at Texas Tech, because of the air raid, that's what a lot of people say the influence of the air raid oftentimes can be toxic because it's almost overwhelming and it infects some people. And that, I don't mean that in a bad way, but it will infiltrate every other phase of the game and it forces everything to be offensively centric. And some people will say that about the air raid, and that's why they don't like it. Because even the Graham Harrells of the world and the Cliff Kingsbury say, yeah, actually it's more of a philosophy. It's less a scheme. It's more of a ideology. It's like a religion. You got to just believe in it wholeheartedly rather than, rather than just we can break out the scheme for you and this is how you run the air raid. So it's one of those things where now him with Sonny Cumbie there, I wonder how interesting the mesh is going to be. Right now it's successful for them. And we just don't know if it's for real.
Yeah, because it's bad competition. So you lose or you win by 6 against SFA. They look the best looking at all 3 games, including Houston against FIU. That game was actually probably wider, the margin was, than what the score was. And if they can put all 3 of those phases together, talk about special teams, but also defensively, they're so good against the run, that hasn't been tested yet. And I think Texas will test that. And I expect Texas to be able to run the football on them, even though I don't like this Texas offensive line. I've been the first to jump on that for 11 years now. I'm sorry, yeah, but this offensive line for in the offseason, I wouldn't buy in that. Yeah. And so we'll see how that works out. But with Casey Thompson, I do think what you said yesterday, I think you're going to see Schooler or someone spy him because they feel like probably they're not too worried about the Texas outside weapons, and I wouldn't be either. They haven't proven anything on film when they've been in college, and even with the new scheme, the outside guys have had some problems getting open. Texas needs to get some splash plays in this game. I think they will, but they're going to make sure they do as much as they can with Bijan, and then obviously spy Casey Thompson. The Texas Tech defense is wide open. The reason I have no feel on this game, and look, I've come in and given you feels on games, which have been pretty good so far in college football, so I've got no problem throwing that out there. But I'm not going to be that guy who just comes in and says every single week, I know what's going to happen here. Now, this is a sample size type game. We don't know enough about either of these teams. It's a black box game. Texas has played 3 games, and we still don't really know who they are at this type of level.
Yeah, because the game, the sample size is so random and sporadic, right? You got the Arkansas game where they got pushed around, and we'll get a chance to see how good Arkansas is this week because they'll
find out.
Right? They get to
play. This is a sample size week.
Yeah, it'll be a really, really good test for them and for the Aggies. So we'll learn a lot about both of those teams. But then, of course, the win against Louisiana was really, really impressive. I haven't been following Louisiana, so I don't really know much about how their season is playing out so far.
3-point win against Nicholls State. That's not good. Looked good against Ohio. Their offensive line graded out as the best offensive line in the country against Ohio.
Yeah. No, exactly. So we'll see how it grades out. I didn't like the Louisiana game plan versus Texas. Thought Levi Lewis didn't really test the corners at all, and maybe he couldn't. And the Rice game, although it was a dominant win, they did what they should have. It's the old Chris Rock bit. You don't get credit for something you're supposed to do. Yeah, I take care of my kids. I never been to jail. I'm never late for work.
Oh, yeah,
you're never supposed to be late for work. We get it. Yeah, you don't get credit for things you're supposed to do, and you're supposed to bully and beat up on Rice. So they did it. That's great, but now we'll learn if this team. Cause I think they'll see some adversity in this game. Not sure when it's going to be. Maybe it's early. Maybe it's toward the the middle of the game. Maybe it's late. But they're going to see some adversity. And I wonder how they respond. The last time they saw adversity versus Arkansas, they didn't respond really well. And that was on the road. So different. I get it. But I think Tech's good enough where they will threaten Texas. And then we'll see what the reaction is by Texas. I think at one point they'll come after Texas.
I think they're also going to come after the secondary, which really hasn't been tested. Getting back to your Louisiana game plan, they didn't really do much against the Texas secondary. Arkansas didn't have to, and Rice couldn't. So we've got 3 games, and we still have guys out there that we hope are better with the scheme, but have been space cadets with film. In their 3 years of college football.
Yeah, to me it should. I know it sounds arrogant. It should be easy. The game plan. It should just be to double Eric. Izukama.
Bracket or roll coverage.
It should just be to double him, or I would roll coverage his way. I would
So I had some people asking me this.
A whole player underneath him if you can. Whatever it is, whatever way you want to find.
People were asking me, couple people on Twitter. So you and Rod are saying that you'd put 2 guys on him. Don't think yard football as much. Think bracketing coverage or rolling coverage, and at times the true doubling they're talking about.
Yeah, I mean it depends on the situation, but I'd have a safety over the top.
There you go.
Just to make sure, so in roll coverage means you can cheat that way. If they got him in the slot, then, that safety cheating that way, the corner knows, and everybody on that side of the field knows, all right, we got deep safety help. If it's him on the outside, you can cheat the safety to the middle. Safety knows he's got deep middle safety help, so he's got help on the post route. He's got help on the deep cross or on the deep 6 route if they got time to get it there. So those long developing routes, all right, I got a little bit of help there. Maybe I can cheat underneath to jump the curl route, jump the comeback, jump some of those things, right? So it all depends on the coverage and how it works out, but I wouldn't take any chances. If Eazy-E at Crabtrees you, right? Don't get Crabtreed. If he ends up Crabtreeing you throughout this game, and I will say Crabtree was double covered. So shout out to Muschamp. He did have NFL Earl guys. Thomas and Curtis Brown on him. So Muschamp knew, hey, this is the guy. I can't let this guy beat me. Still end up beating him. So they got to find a way to neutralize him because that is Tyler Shuck's favorite go-to target, especially on passing downs. That's where he wants to go. You take him out of the game, that passing game of theirs changes completely. Then it depends on tight ends and running backs. pretty much, because no other receiver has really proven themselves.
No,
he's the guy.
Travis Kuntz they've got big tight ends. They're going to have a size advantage against this Texas secondary. Big tight ends, big receivers, some young receivers, and Kuntz is the tight end. You've got Kalen Geiger. I'm not sure which one he got. I think he goes Geiger. Is the transfer from Troy, who's one small guy. So he'll be working the middle of the field, but they've got some freshmen. They've got a freshman who's 6'5". They've got 6'4". They've got 6'3" in Izakama, 6'3", 220 in that case, who can work different route trees and is also a developed receiver. So he's not just a 9-route guy. He's not, don't think of some guys Texas has had where you think, okay, he's a bigger guy, but I know what he's running. He can run some different routes. And, Rod, this is going to be a test on the Texas secondary, also a test on the Texas run game, because Taj Brooks has been really good, and Sir Roderick Thompson's coming back. He's been injured most of the year. My biggest question, once again, getting back to the Texas defensive line, which I don't think has lived up to the hype. Actually, I know they haven't lived up to the hype that a lot of people, including us, put on them and the expectations. They need to win the lines of scrimmage here, and that's a big question mark with Texas. It's going to be all year, no matter who they play.
Yeah, that's the weakness for Tech. If you were asked the Tech insiders exactly, what's the weakness with the team, they would go lines of scrimmage. They'd say the defensive line is an undersized D-line that really can there's a potential for them to get overpowered. It hasn't really happened just yet because they haven't really faced that type of competition, and pass protection on the offensive line. And Texas Longhorn fans can sympathize with that. So if Texas can exploit those areas, and that's what you mean by just win the line of scrimmage, then, yeah, they should win this game in a commanding fashion. I mean, they really should win the game by double digits. And I think if they can win the line of scrimmage and run the ball consistently, then that would totally, in my opinion, I think it would just really destroy the game plan for Texas Tech, because they need to win on some of those early downs. They're going to try to do it by slanting early on. They're going to do a lot of run blitzing early on, shooting gaps to try to blow up plays in the backfield for Texas before they ever get going, especially on that outside zone. And if they can do that early on, get Texas in some predictable passing situations, they like to blitz. They blitz, they play man behind it. Then that's when they can affect the quarterback. And they should put a spy on Casey Thompson. We'll see if that is the case.
They should. So if you go man, you're run blitzing, and you have a spy, that tells me that a lot of this game could come down to winning one-on-one matchups on the outside.
Yeah.
And taking some shots.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, and I will see if they get if Texas gets the time to take those shots.
And that's the caveat there.
And then you got to connect. I mean, Hudson Card had some time to take some of those shots versus Arkansas and just missed.
Yeah.
But missed on 4 of them. If you connect on 2 of those.
Or miss the window.
Yeah, exactly. Or it changes the game completely. So that is something, too. I think Casey's got better accuracy on his deep balls, and I think he's got a better feel for throwing the deep ball to the receivers. I could be off about that. That's just my personal opinion. But if you get time, if you're Texas, you get time, they got to connect on those shots. They'll get their chance, because the Texas Tech defenders, when they play man, they're not great at it. I mean, but they're adequate. I mean, they're competent at playing man coverage. They can do it well enough, but they need to depend on either the blitz or their defensive line to get home. If not, you can wreak havoc on that secondary.
You can wreak havoc and depend on pluckers. You can do both those things, which is great. Wreak havoc in terms of just tearing up some wings. Best wings in town. The best sports bar in town. So if you're not going to the game, great time, great place to go would be Pluckers. Stop by there and watch some of the other games, because you've got plenty of TVs. The best sports bar out there. It is Pluckers. 7 Austin area locations. We got locations in Dallas and Houston as well. We're going to talk to Dave Paul coming up at 5 o'clock. He's one of the owners of Pluckers, knows a lot of college football. We do Beat the Pluck. That's where essentially you can win free beer and free wings and watch a game with me, a road game, at one of the Pluckers. We have a lot of fun out there, and even if Texas is losing like Arkansas, misery loves company. So get to hornfm.com to sign up for that. Get to pluckers.com to find out about their locations. You can also order online there, or you can use DoorDash and download the Pluckers Club app. Okay, I think we hit it there, at least the surface, pretty well. Any individuals or individual matchups you're kind of looking at? I guess considering what we just previewed there, we're talking about the Texas secondary and also the Texas receivers, knowing that both lines need to do enough, whether it's the Texas offensive line giving them enough time on some of those deep shots or the Texas defensive line. If they can't stop the run, this could very easily be a Tech win, because then at that point, you're going to be in that situation where they can do pretty much anything they want. And base off your personnel, like we talked about.
For Tech offensively? For Tech going up against Texas?
Yeah, if Texas doesn't stop the run, they're in deep trouble.
Yeah, I heard Jeff on Light the Tower too. There's some whispers, just rumors right now, I believe, that Tosh Brooks could be dealing with an injury, and that he might be a game time decision. Someone say don't fall for that. That's the old okie doke.
Banana in the tailpipe.
Right. That's the old Mike Leach dummy script in the Texas OU game. Don't fall for it.
Did a young Damon Wayans tell you that?
No, but so that's out there. But we know Sir Roderick Thompson is coming off an injury, and he's expected to play. But Matt Wells wants to run the football, and he wants to give them an identity on offense that is a more balanced one. Right, where they can run the football and they can throw it, and you have to try to defend both. And I think he's done a good job of that balance. Now with Sonny Cumbie in there, we'll see how dynamic Tyler Shook can be. This is the thing, though, when you blitz or go after Tyler Shook, which I don't think Texas will do. I think when on passing situations, they'll just depending on if they're in the red zone or not situationally, maybe they'll come with some blitzes. But I think they'll just try to depend on more organic pressure to get after him, because we know that lately it's the only sample size we have that Kwiatkowski's been keeping two high safeties.
Yeah, even against Arkansas, when the reality is...
And maybe he breaks tendency. Maybe this game he breaks tendency, and it's like, oh, okay.
He's done that in his past.
He has. And speaking of, maybe it's the rope-a-dope. Speaking of the okey-doke, maybe it's the rope-a-dope with PK there. He gets in a Big 12 play and switches it up, and then teams have to prepare for both. But I'm with you. I think ultimately Pete Kwiatkowski will depend on his interior defensive line to win up front. They cannot get pushed back. If they get pushed back, there's going to be a problem, just like there was in the Arkansas game. As long as they stand their ground at the point of attack, Texas's scheme, I think, will allow them to at least have success versus the run. I don't know if they'll completely stop the run, but you won't see the dam collapse like you did versus Arkansas. You won't see that. And if you see anything close to that, then Texas is going to lose this game.
Shuck looked his best against FIU, and he was throwing for 399. They threw for 407 as a team, but 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. He's had some picks this season. So the other thing, too, I've talked about, their running backs have put the ball on the ground. So make sure that if you've got someone wrapped up, you go ahead and Jaron Thompson that thing or start stripping and see if you can't get some turnovers, because it's easiest thing to do, but in a game like this, if we don't have a good feel on it, well, whoever wins the turnover battle is going to win. I think the same thing could be true with Arkansas and Texas A&M as well.
Yeah, Texas has done a good job, in their games, winning the turnover margin.
They've been clean with penalties. You see where they're at in penalties in the country?
I believe it's 7th fewest penalty yards.
They've been really good, top 10.
Yeah, 3 penalties, right? Something like that. Well, no, in the third game, it's 9 penalties or something like that.
Yeah, but it's top 10.
No, yeah, in terms of penalty yards.
Penalty yards,
fewest
right,
penalty yardage, yes, no question about it. Yeah, no, I agree. That's been buttoned up, and that was a big problem during Tom Herman's tenure, so you got to give the coaching staff a little bit of credit. It's a more disciplined football team across the board, no doubt.
We're talking Texas and Texas Tech today. We will get back to that, talk a lot of that, and give you some keys to the game. We got some Sark audio as well. Bucks and Rams preview of that is coming up at 4:45. Up next, I know they lost, but I got to give them credit. They're much better than I thought.
Oh, play me some mountain music like Grandma and Grandpa used to play. Then I'll float on down the river to Cajun Hideaway.
All right, welcome back to RBKD. It is a Country Music Friday edition of RBKD. And I got to tell you, my man KD coming out on fire. since
I didn't mean to.
No, it was great because we started talking randomly about like current entertainment options, more like sitcoms and dramas. And Katie was like, I'm not into any of it because basically, I'm paraphrasing, but you think it's all trash.
That's pretty good paraphrasing.
But you watch older shows.
But I also watch $1 Million Listing, which I know is trash, but they act like it's trash.
That's true.
They come out and say, "Hey, you want trash?" I go, "Yeah, I want some trash."
I'm into trash, some TV. Trust me, I watch. My wife is into trash TV, and I watch
my trash TV.
She's into the kind of trash TV you like,
Below
the Bravo
deck.
kind. Yeah, you know what I mean. So I trust me. I don't judge people for watching trash TV, but you don't watch any current sitcoms, dramas. And you don't go to the movie. You don't watch. Nobody goes to the movies. I'm an old man. No, you don't watch current movies either. You don't make it a point to watch a current movie. Like, I'm gonna see that movie.
Or is Bobby?
Chad's excited because he's gonna go, watch a movie with Monkey for the first time. I think it's,
Is it a Marvel? Is he gonna put a cape on and a costume? Have a button where you can push it, and his mom will pick him up once the movie's over.
He's gonna watch. I believe Deadpool is the movie, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
He's gonna watch for the first time. I could be off about that, but I believe that's the one. And he's excited. But you haven't even seen Deadpool before.
No. I have no idea what you're talking about.
You keep up with current movies. At least watch every movie.
At least more than KD does.
More than KD does, right?
That's not hard to do though.
Hey.
Yeah. And you have current shows, dramas, and sitcoms that you watch and keep up with.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right, so you're in the minority here.
I think I have the next
minority.
country music song for you, John. I'm going to help you out here.
Oh, you're going to help me out?
No, he's going to sing it.
You don't need any help. But
he's going to sing it.
It's a family tradition.
Oh, there we go.
And so there we go. We're going to have that coming up here.
I'll never turn down Hank Williams Jr.
I think
in terms of movies. So my parents never went to. My mom went to Jaws in 1975.
Yeah.
And the next movie she saw in a movie theater was in the late 90s, I think.
Wow. Yeah.
She saw Jaws and like, cinema's not for me.
She liked Jaws.
Was it that bad? Or she was scared of Jaws?
No, she would just wait until it came out. And so I went to tons of movies, but that was my grandma, my aunt, my uncle, everyone else would take me there. My dad occasionally. My dad took me to JFK because he knew I was all into that. And
that's cool. Yeah.
But it was just movies were not a big deal in my house. And I know they were in some houses. So I'm literally that kid we all thought was a freak in middle school
didn't see
when
some
they
movies.
didn't have a TV. Remember that? We had a kid here who didn't have a TV.
Like in his house at all?
Yeah, and so we went over there and we were like, "You don't have a television in your house?"
Yeah.
No, my parents aren't into that.
See, David Ash grew up like that.
David Ash, right.
Remember? Yeah.
We had a guy here. And of course he ends up going to Japan. So it was like,
he had no TV in the house at all.
No TV in the house at all. And we thought that was, we thought they were aliens. Like, I feel bad because the kid was so cool, but it was just, like, I don't know how you function.
He was probably well read.
Oh, very well read.
He's just reading all the time. But
very well read.
Good for them. That's fantastic.
Was a zero.
Now we're in extreme, though.
We are.
Now we got too much screen time.
Yeah,
everybody
we
does.
do.
Everybody. All of us. All of us have way too much screen time. Me too.
And I wasn't raised that way.
Oh, yeah, you do too. And you're not even, you just
I'm
watching
not even
sports.
watching stuff.
You're watching sports and trash. That's it.
That's it.
Sports and trash.
But also,
you know what? Your diet, your entertainment diet needs to be a little bit more diverse. You're a food connoisseur. You're a foodie.
Yes.
Right? You have a very diverse diet, and you have a very diverse palate, too. But your diet is diverse. You get it all in. All the food groups.
I do.
You get it all in. Yeah?
Not as much as Trey, but
your entertainment palette right now, you're just eating the desserts, the sweets, the trash, and then you're consuming sports, which is... Yeah, I mean, there's some. It's like all meat though. It's like meat.
Yeah, it's like all red meat.
It's all
red meat and junk food.
Red meat, junk food. That's
which
all
was
your
the
entertainment diet.
Which is why I always mock diets because in my lifetime we've gone polar opposite after a diet. You should eat only meat. Don't eat meat. It's like, well, can you please, can you guys get in the middle somewhere?
I think everybody's physiology is a little different.
It is.
And I think for some people, you go different ways. It works better for you.
And to add to your comparison, though, what you're telling me is to diversify.
Yeah.
But diversify, you're saying I'm eating too much junk food. I think you're probably right about that. But then you're saying just eat fried foods. And then you're telling me to eat other crap, and that's what I'm telling you that is on the buffet.
You need a little, you need a little poultry in your diet. You need some, your little fish in your diet. You right now in your entertainment diet.
For KD's defense, he did say he likes like history shows too, right?
Yeah.
That's true. It's good for
Classic
you. I like
old
that.
man daytime television type
Then
stuff.
you should get...
It's why I can't do cartoon movies. I sound like Bobby Bowden in '93.
Yeah, cartoon movies.
We took him to a picture movie. Bobby Bowden said that. They went to go see Rudy before the Notre Dame game, and he goes, "So I took him to the picture show." And I remember at the time thinking, "Oh my god!"
But then
you kidding me?
You can get into historical dramas.
Yeah, I do.
Of movies, like.
Yeah,
you don't go watch those either.
Well, I do. I mean, if I watch a movie, it's definitely based on real life.
Okay. All right.
I'm not going to any cartoons at the picture show.
At the picture show.
At the picture show.
Let's talk about a very depressing reality show, the Houston Texans. And right now, it's a bit of it's on its way to being an S show. They are playing hard.
They are.
But they are limited in, of course, talent overall because the front office has made some decisions for the future. You can call it tanking, whatever, but
that's a diplomatic way of putting it.
I
will call it tanking.
As a Texans fan, I'll make sure I'm being fair. But they're limited, of course. Deshaun Watson, who is on the active roster, isn't playing, and Tyrod Taylor is now on the IR. Davis Mills made his first start, and it was underwhelming, but he wasn't terrible.
He wasn't terrible.
But the entire offense as a whole was inept.
Yeah.
And there's nothing really they can do. As an offense, they were 1 of 9 on third downs. He was 19 of 28, 168 yards. The only real threat offensively the Texans have is Brandon Cooks. He had 9 receptions, 112 yards. 53% of their total yards was Brandon Cooks. And he actually is having a great year. 31 targets, 0 drops. He's having a really, really good year for the Texans. But that's about it. There was some signs of life. They didn't cross midfield until the last drive of the first half, but that's when they went hurry up offense, KD. And Davis Mills seemed like he got in the groove. He went 5 of 6 on that drive, 64 yards. They went and got a touchdown. Maybe more of that. Maybe more of the 2-minute drill with him in there at certain times during the game may boost the offense.
I think it does. Davis Mills' third trimester. He's in the crib in Long Island, and LBJ. Kramer looks down and says, "She looks like OBJ." I don't think he's a she. Maybe he is. That's up to Davis. But he's so young. We have no idea right now. We have so I wouldn't want to ruin him. First start. He had, what did he have? A fart at Stanford?
He actually was. Yeah, I think his.
What did he have? 12, 13 starts. I mean, it was. Who's my boy from Carolina who went to the Bears? Who's Trubisky-esque.
Yes, good point. That's a good comparison. No, you're right about that, though. He had, I forget the actual number there, Stanford. In 2020, he played 5 of 6 games for Stanford in 2020. So,
and then played a little bit the year before. And then
played a little bit the year before. So, yeah, not a lot of playing time. And he did play at the end of the game against the Browns. That was kind of his first taste of action, and this is his first start. So I wanted to put out there, he wasn't terrible.
He wasn't.
He didn't make a difference in the game in a positive way either. So.
No, he was 19 of 28 for 168. And I will say this game was 14-6 after 3. And this gets back to expectations, which is why I teased it that way. The Texans are better than I thought. I mean, they literally have a front office that is working against them, and they've got a 52-man roster because Deshaun Watson's there. They built the oldest roster and not a good roster. And they're on their backup quarterback now, which I know deep down they're smiling about. That defensive line, and I'm not just saying it because I taught him all of his pass rush moves here as an intern. You guys don't know that. I mean, a minute, you think I play ball outside a minute, and I would work on swim moves, swim techniques,
nice,
dipping the shoulder, ripping, where there was a lot. We didn't work on any of that.
No, did you even play catch out there with him?
Yeah, we did. But Charles would come in, and he was a good worker. Charles Minahu was an intern for us here and for the afternoon show. But it was funny. We had other interns here, and they came after and said, "Yeah, Charles said you would let him go eat whenever he wants." Yeah, I'd let Charles do that.
Yeah, right. It's Charles Minahu.
He goes, "So I couldn't?" I go, "No, I told him if he wants to go work out or go eat at any time, he's allowed to leave, drop whatever he's doing, and go do that."
His body's burning calories.
Exactly.
I mean, that's for the team. You're doing that for the team. That was for the University of Texas football team as much as it was for Charles Minahu.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
What was Putty's line? "I'm here for the team." Or, no, got to support the team.
Got to support the team.
Got to support the team.
Yeah, that's what that move was about.
He looks good, man.
He does.
I mean,
good.
he's screaming off the edge, Blacklock, be careful with that, is good on the nose, at the nose. So what we're looking at, and on the nose. So what we're looking at is who are some young guys you can build around and cultivate. And there are actually some guys on that defensive line as this thing's 14-6 heading to the fourth quarter. We can get into Sam Darnold and what we do or don't believe about Carolina offensively. But there's some things to build around. They're going to be bad, and they want to be bad. So understand that they're going to have 2 or 3 wins this year probably, right?
Yeah, and it's mainly because of the offense, really. The defense, I think, actually, I'll give Lovie Smith some credit. Schematically, I think he could evolve his scheme a little bit, but they play hard for him in his scheme, and they had 2 sack fumbles that they just didn't recover. If they had recovered one of those fumbles, the ball didn't bounce their way there. The game could have been a little different. You're right. It was a close game, mostly because Christian McCaffrey ended up going out of the game. We didn't talk about that enough, but he ended up leaving the game with a hamstring injury. So we don't know his status. So Chuba Hubbard had to come in for their Royce Freeman.
That took away a lot of the fun of this game. By the way.
And J.C. Horn. Broke his foot in that game for Carolina. So bad news for them. They're 3-0, but that's still bad news. They lose 2 of their better players on offense and defense, or their best player on offense, but one of their better players on defense in their first-round draft pick this year. But for the Texans, David Culley, and nothing against him. I mean, it's unfair that he was thrown in this position anyway. The boo started, and rightfully so, after they called a draw play on 3rd and 16. And I get it, because that basically you've given up on 3rd and 16 if you're calling the draw play. And they probably didn't want to put Davis Mills in that situation.
That's the definition of giving up in all of football.
Yeah. And then in third quarter, there was... Remember that 4th and 4 on the Panthers' 39-yard line? I think that was 10 minutes left in the third.
Yes.
And
you got to kick that with a big leg.
Yeah. So they punted.
Right. You have to try the field goal.
Try the field goal. Try to go for it. I mean, whatever. Don't punt it.
One of the two, right?
Don't wave the white flag, which is what that's. So I do think some of the players. I don't know if you'll get this fight the entire season if the coaches are, not giving them a chance to win some of these close games or giving them some type of coaching or schematic advantage. Other than that, defense plays hard. Offense just doesn't. The running game is terrible. And Texas had the 31st ranked running game last year in 2020. It's going to be that bad. They only had 42 rushing yards in this game, and they're averaging 3.3 yards per carry on the season. It's gonna be a long season, and they got old running backs that are
Mark Ingram, who had 21 yards. They had nothing on the ground. So you'll love this Twitter feed, Surrender Index 90, and he only tweets about, or she only tweets about punts with the surrender index above the 90th percentile. Okay, he's got 45,000 followers, and talking about the Houston punt, 4th and 4. From the Carolina 39, 10:44 remaining in the third, losing 6-7. They said with a surrender index of 47.03. I have no idea what that means, but I know what this means. This punt ranks as the 99.6th percentile of cowardly punts in the 2021 season, and the 99.1 first percentile of all punts since 1999.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that.
I mean, either go for it or... Sly is a big leg. Go ahead and give it a shot.
What do you have to? I guess I was saying.
What do you have to lose?
You have to lose.
Win.
You want to lose.
Winning.
But when
that's what you have to lose.
Yeah. They want to lose though. I keep forgetting that when
it's hard.
I'm trying to criticize the Texans. I'm like, what do they have to lose? Well, when they are trying to lose. I mean, that's what they have to lose. So, I mean, so I think some of those, maybe those moves are because of incompetence or ineptitude by David Culley, or maybe it's because Culley understands the grand scheme overall, which is, no, we're not trying to win these games, guys. Y'all are the other ones that are worried about trying to win the game. We're not trying to win the game.
I was hoping he'd be more the major league manager, though. F him. Let's go win in spite
after that first game, I think we all thought that was the case. Right after that first game,
when he came out in the with the press conference,
yeah,
we're not listening to outside noise.
That's what we all thought, but that's not the case. No, I don't know. But either way, they're set up to fail because either it's him as a coach and his inexperience showing, or it's him understanding, hey, man, we're not trying to win these games. So either way, that's, like you said, it's working against the team.
Quickly, not sold on Carolina's offense. Darnold is better. He's 3-0. He had some good 3-game stretches with the Jets. I've kept it open with him the whole time because the Jets are such an S show, but they're going to have some problems offensively moving the football. And I do think Houston's pass rush is pretty good. Their defense is definitely the strength of the team. But, Rod, it's not that good of a defense where, look, they had 14 points after 3 quarters.
Yeah, if you don't have, especially without Christian McCaffrey. So if you ain't got Christian McCaffrey, there is no identity of that offense. And Sam Darnold, he's had the best start to his career, so give it up for him and Joe Brady. They've done a good job building that scheme. I think he was 9 of 11 throwing the ball 10 yards or more in the air. So
he looks better.
He does look better. 304 yards for him, just rushing touchdowns, but he's affecting the game in a positive way. That defense is legit, though. What Phil Snow has done with that defense is fantastic. Their pressure. Hassan Reddick right now, give you a stat about him. He has 38 pressures since week 14 of 2020. That's the most in that time span, more than Aaron Donald. He had 7 in 27 pass rush snaps, and they blitz. Man, they blitz. They are really effective.
No, they come, man.
They come for you. It is a hellacious.
But they come from different angles. You talked about that yesterday, and then they'll hedge blitz.
Yep.
And they'll fake stuff, and the natural reaction is if you're faking coming off one edge and you don't, you look to the other edge. But sometimes there's no edge.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant, man. When you watch him, how he schemes up those pressures. So we'll see what the Cowboys will have to deal with the Panthers in that defense. What, in a couple of weeks? I think they play the Cowboys, right? If I'm not mistaken about that. Yeah, because they play the NFC South. But if they don't have Christian McCaffrey, then it won't be a game at all, really. The Cowboys should blow them out if that's the case. But
it's actually next week.
Is it right after the Texans?
In Dallas.
Oh, yeah, that's not good that Christian McCaffrey's out, too. If he's going to miss multiple games, the Cowboys are going to light him up. That'll be a good test for that defense, though. That defense has not been tested like that. That Cowboys offense, if they can hold that Cowboys offense to less than 30,
answer.
That'll be a hell of a test for that D, especially without J.C. Horn.
Because the Panthers come out probably with the number 1 defense again after week 3 because you play the Texans and you don't give up much. We're going to find out how good that defense is. It's good. Is it top 5, top 10 NFL good? It's number 1 if you look at the stats right now. It is RBKD, Rod Babers, Kevin Dunn, John Reichel. John, good to see you, man. You look different. You look like you've aged.
I know. It's been so long since y'all been in the studio. 3 full days, 72 hours apart.
Feels good to be back.
Yeah, John was waiting for me when I came up, and he was like, hey. It does get lonely back here whenever we're on the road. We're having fun.
I know. You're talking to fans, eating all this food, getting free beer.
Yeah. Oh, God. In fact, I'm going to bring some in tomorrow for you.
Oh, you don't have to do that.
No, I'm going to because my fridge is packed right now. Big 12 weekend look around. We'll take a look at the league coming up next. This is RBKD, and you're listening to The Horn.
Lord, I guess I went and broke their family tradition. They get on me, want to know, Hank, why do you drink? Hank, why do you roll smoke? Why must you live out the songs that you wrote?
Mentioned family tradition earlier. There we go.
It's a good song.
Everybody made my prediction. So if I get stoned, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition.
Okay.
Welcome back.
Good job.
RBKD.
Good recommendation.
Yeah. And John was all over it.
Oh, yeah. Hank Williams Jr., any day of the week.
Country Music Friday.
And that was Monday Night Football. John, we can't describe to you how big that was back in the day. It's still a big deal, but that was the only game, and there weren't a ton of games on. And when that thing fired up, and you had Hank Williams Jr. singing Monday Night, and that was cool.
That was cool. I remember that. Getting back to theme songs.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Also a great theme song.
Did he got canceled for something, didn't he?
Yeah, I forgot.
And I don't remember if it was cancelable and real
but he did at one point. There was something controversial that happened. I'm not sure what it was. Yeah.
All right, we got Big 12 action this weekend. We're going to find out more. Rod and I have talked about it. It's a sample size. I've done well pre-sample size. Usually my betting gets a little bit better once I'm able to watch all these teams. But they gave me Iowa, Iowa State, Michigan State, and Miami. They gave me some freebies, some easy ones, and also UCLA, Fresno State. We'll get to Beat the Pluck coming up at 5 o'clock. So just some of the Big 12 games. West Virginia, Oklahoma, we talked about that a little bit yesterday. OU favored by 17. There's kind of this weird feeling about OU. They're 3-0, and it gets back to expectations, the one that I set so low for the Texans, where I was actually pleased with what I saw last night. OU's 3-0, Rod, but I think Lincoln deep down knows they have to get the running game going. We've been all over this, you and I think people that really watch OU and know OU, it's so easy with the throwbacks and the long bombs and explosive plays through the air they've had the last 5 years with Lincoln to say, well, this is just totally air raid back in the day. This offense is really predicated off being able to run the football. They got to get back to that.
Yeah, their offensive line play has been some of the best in the country under Lincoln Riley.
Bedenbaugh's as good as anyone out there.
Bedenbaugh has been unbelievable, and he's had a lot of talent there too at his disposal, but he's coached it up really, really well. This year they look a little disorganized on the offensive line. Don't really know what that's about. Maybe it's youth, inexperience, could be injuries. I'm not that close to the program, haven't studied that much. They look a little disorganized early on, and those games against Tulane. I think we expected Oklahoma to dominate against Nebraska. That offense didn't look as high-powered and prolific, and I think it's because the running game hasn't really gotten going. It's made life a little bit tougher on Spencer Rattler, and I think that's why you're seeing a different Spencer Rattler, or at least a more erratic one than we saw last year.
Tulane. It was the defense that was 40-35, but the offense was there too because it stalled in the second half. No, you weren't wrong about that. Offense second half with Tulane, but it was the defense overall. Defense was fine against Nebraska. They seemed to be kind of coming into shape. It was the offense, and they really played that soft zone. Went back and watched that one more time before I deleted it because I have to open stuff up for the weekend. And I don't have an all 22. I wish I did, but there were enough overview shots, and I trust the color analyst who was working saying, no, this is soft zone. That's what they're doing. And Spencer can get frustrated with that. It's very easy to, if you've got the big explosive plays that you've had with Spencer Rattler and Lincoln, to not be able to take the stuff in front of you, right?
Yeah. No, you're talking about the easy high percentage passes.
Easy stuff.
According to
13-play drive, but it's still a touchdown.
Yeah, according to Pro Football Focus, Spencer Rattler has a 41 passing grade and 3 turnover-worthy plays. Same amount of turnover-worthy plays as completions on deep throws. But on throws that are non-deep throws that are 19 yards or less, 91.6 passing grade. Second best in the Power 5. To your point about the deep stuff.
That's the deep stuff.
They're keeping you from having that chunk yardage play. See if they can marshal length of the field consistently 10, 11, 12 play drives. And that's tough to do.
Can you be clean enough? Will you be patient enough to actually do it outside of being clean? Okay, a couple other Big 12 games. We'll get to that at the top of the hour, and then we'll get to Texas and Texas Tech. Preview more of that.